and sharing professional experience that foster excellence in private clinical practice, and our mission to advance Isha's vision and mission by engaging members in activities that foster interchange of information among clinical practitioners. So this is the team. As you all know, most of them, we have our president, secretary, and chair, public relations and liaising. And we have Mr. Saurav Nauka as the national coordinator, Mr. Amit Anand as the joint coordinator, and Mr. Tariq, myself, Ms. Neelu Somani, Ms. Rupal Chaudhary, and Ms. Sherry Marcosa as the zonal advisors. So very excited to tell you that one of our esteemed Isha members, Mr. Javara Nayaka, sir, will be speaking today. So brace yourselves for the exciting talks ahead. As Isha's SIG private practitioners in audiology team, we kickstarted this year with our Connecting People event, and the mega event where we brought together various state branches and active Isha members from different states together with the national Isha body. This was in June, followed by our first part of the Expanding Horizons Expanding Horizon series of webinar, where Dr. Imran Dhamani joined us from Australia to talk about the clinical perspective. Very recently, we had another very exciting event on freedom from malpractice, and I'm sure you are already getting the excerpts from the presentation being shared within your state bodies as well. And then we have come to today's webinar, which is the part 2 of Expanding Horizons in private practice and audiology. And today we are going to be talking about the administrative perspective. So we have divided today's talk in this four different modules, we can say. So we are going to talk about the infrastructure, the administration, the expansion, and the ethical practices. And to talk about these, we have our esteemed resource persons. These are vastly experienced private practitioners, audiologists, working in different avenues of private practice and audiology. So they are here to share their experience over all these years, their insights, and myself, Pragya Bharadwaj, and Ms. Neelu Somani, your zonal advisors, are also your moderators for today. We are very excited that today students from various institutions have joined us, and I urge the students who have already joined to get your other friends who have not joined yet to join, because they are the ones who are going to really benefit from today's session. And I'm sure they are not just going to learn, but also going to enjoy this session. So as I started my private practice, I really wish there was some reference, some talk that I could look in, somebody who could share their insights in these aspects, because most of what we learn during as a student or during our training period is more into the clinical part, the theory part. But when it comes to practical implementation, actually running a private practice, there are a lot of other things, a lot of other considerations. And so we are very grateful today to have this platform and to have our esteemed resource persons share their insights with us. So without further delay, let's get started. Our first part to talk on infrastructure. Also for the students, just quickly, we are flashing the contact details of our speakers over here. You can take a note of this. You can take a screenshot if you want, and you can reach out to them even at a later stage if they have kindly acknowledged to get in touch with anyone who has any queries on any of these topics that are getting discussed today, and they can give you more insights. Also, I would suggest all of you to keep pouring in your questions in the chat section. We will take them up at the end of the session like last time, and we will try to get them answered as much as possible. And for any other further queries, which you may get later on, you can contact our resource persons directly. So with that, to talk on infrastructure today, we have Mr. Abhijith G. He is a master in audiology and speech language pathology from M.V. Shetty College of Speech and Hearing. He is the founder of Crystal Audiology Clinic and Hearing Aid Center in Kozhikode, Kerala. It's a state-of-the-art clinic with complete gamut of audiological clinical infrastructure, as well as the entire facility that is required for a speech therapy clinic. He's also working as a consultant audiology in Modern ENT Super Speciality Institute in Kozhikode, Kerala. Again, a state-of-the-art center of with audiological as well as the ENT practice coming together. So who better than Mr. Abhijith to talk to us about what are the minimum requirements, what are the aspired requirements when we start, when we are setting up our private practice. Welcome, sir. The floor is yours. Thank you for joining us, and let's get started.
Thank you, Prathya. Am I audible?
Yeah, sir, you're audible.
Hello.
You're audible, sir. You can go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. As you have rightly mentioned, since the audience is most of students only, they will be benefiting more because they are coming to the private practice field. And from today's presentation and from Nayaka, Salaj sir and Krithika ma'am, so they'll have then an idea to how to set up a clinic, how to run a clinic, how to expand a clinic, all those things. So, so as we all know, I'll move to the presentation directly. So as we all know, the prevalence of individuals at risk of communication disorders in India is approximately 6.07%. And early screening, early detection, appropriate intervention combined with allied services is a universally accepted protocol in disability management. And once a disability is detected, it is essential that they shall be provided with proper medical support and as well as proper therapies or the services like speech language therapy, physiotherapy, occupational therapy, or psychological therapy, and so on, so that the disability can either be corrected or the magnitude and the manifestations of the disability can be minimized. And with appropriate therapy support, the person can come forward and survive in the society with improved quality of life. And in case of multiple disabilities, lifelong therapy support may be needed. So therapy services are an integral part of this disability management. So the centers, our centers, clinics are the institutions to cater comprehensive and quality care and services to persons with disabilities.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Your bandwidth is low, so if you can probably switch off your video, we'll have a better voice quality.
Sure, ma'am. Sure.
We're losing out on your voice.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So, is it okay now? The sound is okay now?
Yeah, fairly better.
Okay, fine, ma'am. Thank you. So, as our centers are the institutions which cater the clinical services to persons with disabilities. So, to make a standard is to get it to a standard, or getting to standardization is a necessary thing. So it becomes mandatory that standards and service protocols are to be maintained at all centers. So why we need standardization? That is the first slide. We are getting into the first slide. So why we need standardization is to bring the clinic to under a regulatory mechanism by registering with appropriate authority. That is, if government is setting up a regulatory authority, and they are setting up a minimum standard, so to bring after registration, to bring the clinic to under a regulatory mechanism. That is why we need standardization. Then we need to ensure the infrastructure facilities at the clinic Then professional service of the qualified SLP for audiologists to be guaranteed. So many of the centers are not having that. And service protocol to be ensured, like therapy timings or therapy protocols, then cost of service, everything to be ensured. Then facilities of caretaker orientation to be ensured. This is very important. Like it is always a right of the caretaker or a parent to know what kind of therapy is given to the child, or what kind of goals, what kind of aim the therapy.
Hello?
Hello. Okay, I think he is muted.
He got disconnected. Let's just give him some time to connect back.
Hello.
Yeah, sir. We can hear you.
Yeah.
You-
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
now?
sir. We can hear you now.
Yeah. Okay. So the present scenario now in clinical field is there is no monitoring mechanism for therapy or audiology center except the income tax and GST department. Nobody else is monitoring the therapy centers or audiology centers. And sometimes there is a lack of infrastructure facilities and equipment. We have heard of people giving hearing aid without proper testing, without doing PTA, all those things we have heard of. That is lack of infrastructure and equipment. Then service provided by unqualified persons. So I think we are going to have a elaborate talk on that in this session only. There are many centers, not many centers where there are people, unqualified people working. Service protocol and transparency. So there is no service protocol as such, and many centers works without a service protocol and transparency, in the sense the parents or the caretakers should be able to see or understand what is happening to their child, what therapy, what goals they have set for the child. All those things should be comes part of at present we are lacking in those fields and all. Then lack of documentation. So regarding in the therapy session or even in audiology section, there is a lack of documentation in the clinics. Then there are incidences of abuse faced by children or person with disability, mainly in clinics that are run by unqualified persons, and some other this thing. There are incidences of abuse or molestations. All those things happen in the clinic. So that is the present scenario. We'll move to the next slide. So this slide, the previous slide. So this slide speaks about the need for standardization, as the principles were suggesting, that to bring all centers providing service to persons with disabilities under a regulatory mechanism. This is as notified by Section 49 of Revised Person with Disability Act in 2016, and to ensure required infrastructure, to ensure service of professionally qualified person, to ensure service protocols like the time schedule, cost of service, transparency, etc. To ensure parent and caretaker orientation, as I have mentioned earlier, to establish regular monitoring by the authority, to eliminate unfair approach and abuse faced by PWD. This will automatically come when the unethical practice is cut down. Next slide. Okay, this now we are moving into the infrastructure part of the clinic. So first thing is regarding the space. So this is a standard. This is in this slide we are giving a minimum requirement. So this is set for a clinic which has only one speech therapist or only one audiologist. So if depending on the scope of practice, depending on the caseload, we can have a bigger one, but this is just the minimum standard. So in terms of space, first thing when we enter into a clinic, it is the waiting area. As per the waiting area should be minimum 50 square feet as per the standard requirement, and as per the requirement and workload of the center, it can be bigger. And next thing is after waiting area, then next thing is the consultation room. So consultation room, it is one room. As I told, this is for one therapist. It is the consultation room is one room, so that also should be minimum of 50 square feet. Then speech therapy room, one speech therapy for each therapist. So if you have two therapists, you need to have two speech therapy rooms, and the size should be minimum 40 square feet. So room should have adequate space to accommodate therapist, child, and one parent. So 3 people should be accommodated inside a therapy room. And other facilities like accessible toilet or drinking water also should be ensured inside the clinic. The toilet can be inside the clinic or in the same building only. And drinking water facility also should be ensured inside the clinic. Next slide. So the space required for audiology, again the waiting area, consultation room. Then third one is sound-treated audiology room, either booth or a single or double room with a size of 6 by 6 feet length and 6 feet width with permissible noise level as per ANSI S3 of 1999 standards. And other hearing aid verification and counseling room, hearing aid fitting room, and other facilities as I have mentioned earlier. And here I want to say this except the audiology room and hearing aid verification room, other things can be shared. If you have a speech and hearing speech therapy and audiology clinic, you can have same waiting area for speech therapy and audiology. You no need to have separate waiting areas or separate consultation. You can share the rooms. Next slide. Now moving on to the furnitures and fixtures. So this is just, you can read it out. Chairs, you need to have 3 chairs in the waiting area, 1 consultation table, 2 patient chairs in the consultation room, 1 for the patient and 1 for the bystander. Speech therapy table, 1 speech therapy table in each therapy room. Therapy chairs, 3, 2, 1 for patient, 1 for bystander, and 1 for the therapist, and storage cabinet. Next slide. In audiology department, you need to have 2 tables, 1 for pure tone audiometry and immittance audiometry. Next one is hearing aid programming. Chairs, 3, 1 patient chairs, 1 for audiometry, 1 for immittance, and 1 for hearing aid programming. Chair for audiologist, then an AC in the audiology room. Next slide. In equipments and materials, what are the equipments required for the speech pathology department? Like touch materials to assess the speech and language skills. I have given a few touch materials. You can have more in depending on the scope of your practice and the caseload. This is assessment of language development. MAT is Malayalam articulation test revised. You can have different languages, CAPE 5, SIR, and WAB, FDA, etc. And oral cavity assessment kit with the tongue depressor, gloves, straws, cones, bubbles, torch, ice cream sticks, etc. Next slide. Therapy materials. As you all know, the toys of animals, birds, vehicles, etc. One set of that. Multi-sensory stimulation materials like pokeballs or light emitting toys or rattle, 1 set. You need to have interactive books, story books, books with colorful pictures, then cause effect toys, popping toys, like rotating toys or something like that. Then you need to have puzzles, thing to pretend play like a doctor, or to pretend play as if like in kitchen, or pretend play set, then sequencing story, story pictures or flashcards or all the therapy materials depending on the scope of your practice. Next one. In audiology department, you need to have an otoscope, diagnostic audiometer with speech audiometry facility. Then better to have a diagnostic tympanometer or even a screening emittance, then conditioning materials like a drum, bell and stuff. Then speech audiometry test material like Spondyword list, computers with printer and hearing aid programming interface like HiPro or Novalink wireless or any other dedicated programming device. Next slide. Most important part of a clinic, this is human resource, like the staff working there. In speech language pathology and audiology, you need to have minimum one audiologist and speech language pathologist or speech therapist with minimum qualification of BASLP, BSc speech and hearing or equivalent with valid RCA registration as an audiologist and speech pathologist. Many places there are special educators taking therapy. Many places there are psychologists taking therapy. So when we inquire there, we also have RCA registration, but their RCA registration will be for different category. Our RCA registration is for audiologists and speech pathologists, and it is mandatory that whoever is giving a speech therapy or audiology services should have valid RCA registration as an audiologist and speech pathologist. Next slide. Then now the clinic is set, and before starting functioning, we have some functional requirement. So before the clinic is starts its operations, following signage shall be displayed in the center. First thing is name of professionals giving therapy or any clinical services. Their name should be displayed with qualification and registration number in the visible area. And visiting professionals, if any. So if any professional is visiting your clinic for a weekly 2 days or something like that, and the days and time should be displayed, and the visiting professional's name, qualification and registration number also should be displayed in the clinic in a visible area. So, and the details of the service provided in the clinic, fee structure, timings of the center, and details of the complaint lodging mechanism. So when the standard is set, we should have two types of complaint lodging mechanism. One is internal and the other one is external. Internal, so inside within the clinic only if you have a complaint lodging mechanism, and external is with the monitoring system. As I told earlier, there will be a monitoring system to monitor the functioning of the clinic. So that monitoring system will be also a complaint lodging mechanism. So that details of that complaint lodging mechanism should be displayed in the center. Next slide. In speech pathology, when a case is walking inside the clinic, first thing is that you should register that client in your clinic. And you need to have two registers. One is daily case register and follow-up register. Daily case register is for your walk-in patients, for the first time visiting patients. They need to go for the assessment, all those things. And follow-up register is for the therapy clients where they come for the follow-up evaluations and therapies. Then assessment report and case history are to be filed in the clinic. And therapy plans, individualized therapy plans to be made, parent consent to be observed. As I've told in the beginning of the session, when you are before starting the therapy, you need to explain all your therapy plans, what are your activities, what is your aim of the therapy. All those things need to be explained to the parents, and home training is need to be given. Next one is physical presence of parents to be ensured inside the therapy room. If not clinically possible, the session should be visible to the parents through observation window or CCTV or any other electronic media. So we need to make sure that the parents are also inside the therapy room. And if not, if they are not able to be in the therapy room due to clinical reason, the child will not be cooperative, or so for those reasons, the session should be, they should be able to see the sessions in a different area. So periodical evaluation report in 3 months, therapy summary at the end of the completion of the therapy, all those things should be recorded. Next slide. In audiology also, all cases to be registered, unique registration ID to be provided for the patient. This is very important. All clinical services should be done by professional audiologists, including case history, then including evaluations, pure tonometry, tympanometry, hearing aid trial, and hearing aid counseling, hearing aid fitting, everything, all the clinical services should be done by a professional audiologist. Then reports and other documents should be kept in the center for 5 years from the date of registration in that can be kept in electronic mode. Then hearing aid data, dispensing data should be maintained, and programming data sheet with sign and seal to be given to the patient. Next slide. So this is the link to the Kerala government gazette, where they set the minimum standard for private practicing clinics, not only for speech language pathology and audiology, but they have physiotherapy, occupational therapy, and psychological therapy. And this is a collective effort of all the professional associations in Kerala, including ISHA KSP, Indian Speech and Hearing Association, Kerala State Branch, the Physiotherapy Association, Occupational Therapy Association, and Psychology Association. And if anybody would like to see the gazette, what are the minimum standards to set up a clinic, you can download it from there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I'm sure this was very insightful. It was very crisp, very objectively given information, and I'm sure a lot of us is going to benefit from it. I hope everybody is taking note of these, and if there are any questions, they are pouring it into the chat section. Moving on to the next section, we have sir has very nicely elaborated the infrastructure or the setting up point of view for a private practice. Next, we have none other than Javara Nayaka sir with us to talk about the administration point of view. I'm sure all of us know him currently as the chair of public relations and liaising for ISHA. Previously, he has served as the founder secretary and later as president of the Bangalore chapter of ISHA. He is the founder and CEO of Nayaka Group of Speech and Hearing Clinics. Javara Nayaka sir has vast experience, over 35 years of experience as a private practitioner, and we cannot think of anyone better than Nayaka sir to give us insights into different aspects of the administrative point of view. We welcome you, sir. The floor is yours. The privilege is ours.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. And good morning, everyone. As we have heard, an exhaustive view of outline of the minimum requirement for setting up a private practice by Abhijith, let me now focus on the administrative issues. Next slide, please. Well, one pleasant thing about speech pathology and audiology is our profession is listed among the top 20 professions, even in the developed countries, because of low stress, good salary that we are supposed to get, high growth and job satisfaction. Well, job satisfaction, when it comes to it, all of us know that although we make a living by what we get paid, we make a life of a person who has a speech or hearing impairment by what we serve, how we serve. Next, please. Well, why do parents provide education? Why students study? We know that they would like to have the best career, probably. So private practice is an employment option for many of us. It is one among several options that our professionals who study speech and hearing. Perhaps power and money are two things that everyone wants, but not two things everyone can obtain in their lifetime. Indeed, the wealthiest and the most powerful people are the entrepreneurs, like private practitioners that took the risk and got the rewards. If you want to replicate their success, follow suit by doing private practice. Next, well, why private practice? Why do people take up private practice among our professions? Because it is the freedom that we have, the flexibility of working hours, freedom, and most importantly, the income. Next. Then why not everyone take private practice, get into private practice? Because private practice is a complex maze. It can pose a lot of challenges and obstacles. It requires a lot of thorough planning and meticulous execution. Next. Well, then how to start it? The next question. Before you can think of successful practice, you need to follow a couple of simple rules. The secret of getting ahead is getting started and breaking down this complex task into small manageable tasks and then starting on the first one. What are those tasks? Let's look at it in the next slide. Well, the setup rules for a successful private practice are a feasibility study, a business plan, resource mobilization, the right team, equipments, and the mentors that you can think of. Well, next slide, please. Well, how do I know, before starting a practice, if it works or not? Where to start, when to start, and how? It is a previous slide. SWOT analysis perhaps can give you, overview or the strength that you have, the weaknesses, opportunities, and threats which are considered as unique traits that can help you have a good private practice. Strength could be your unique skills that you have acquired during your study. Weakness could be a lack of the skills, lack of financial power with you to start invest in the private practice. Strength and weaknesses are considered internal, whereas opportunity and threat are external. Related to the environment, opportunity could be a virgin market where no one has a clinic so far in the considered area, and threat could be the new competitors. They might join you at some point of time. Next slide, please. Well, conducting feasibility study involves finding out the target population, whether if you are going to have an audiology practice, whether there is adequate number of people who can take your services, the demographic analysis of the town, and whether your services are affordable, and what is your core strength or service that you can think of, as well as your qualification. And finally, the referral source, whether you have enough number of cases to feed you to generate enough income. As Abhijith mentioned, the infrastructure requirement, personal requirements, we have already heard about it. And as well as initial cost, capital investment. Next slide, please. Well, it is not sufficient if you analyze, you have a SWOT analysis for yourself. Probably you'll also need to consider analysis of communities' strength and weakness. So here, know how many qualified personnels are there in the locality, whether there is already a clinical setup, and then whether there are any clinics in the area. No, then the opportunities could be services that are not available around, like balance or swallowing, and threat again could be arrival of a new competitor in that locality. Next, please. Well, private practice, of course, is similar to launching any other small business, plus ethics. So we shouldn't forget, if you have an ethical practice, apart from the requirements, you will succeed. No, you're likely to succeed than others. Next slide, please. You need to have a business plan which includes the types of services and range of specialties, budget, the competitive advantage, the unique selling point, target market, and of course, marketing strategies that will be dealt by the other speaker later. Basically, business plan is all about how you are going to execute your vision. And when you go approach for a loan, the bank will also will ask for your business plan before offering any credit to you. Next. There are many models of private practice. You have proprietorship, which involves single person as owner, and then a partnership firm. Next, please, private limited company and a franchisee. The advantage of sole proprietorship is it is easy and inexpensive, but the disadvantage is that you probably you have unlimited liability of the business. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Excuse me for the disturbances.
Your voice is echoing. Maybe are you logged in from two devices?
Yes.
So
So
maybe
the advantage of the partnership is again the favorable taxation from the government. Example could be 2 or more people joining and running the show. Here, another disadvantage is you are going to share the profit with the partner. Next slide, please. Then you have the third option, the private limited company, like any other hearing aid company. The advantage is the life is long. You can transfer your ownership. You can easily raise the capital, and no personal liability if you happen to lose the game. The disadvantage is it's more expensive, requires annual meetings and periodic filing with the government authorities. Next slide, please. Franchisee is, as you know, again in another form of another model for running a private practice. Here again, you're going to share the profit with the owner of the company. Next slide, please. Resource mobilization is part of how you're going to estimate financial projection, sales forecast, resources required for investing, starting the clinic. You have a list of startup costs, marketing costs, and many other things. Next slide, please. So financial projection includes initial cost of investments as well as running cost, the fixed and mixed costs. So you have a financial projection which looks like this. The investment required for building deposit, equipments, and so on. And initial cost could be something like you can start even with a minimum investment of 5 lakhs. We understand millions of rupees is required to set up a good practice. Well, next slide, please. So you will have to, so when we invest so much, so the risk involved is also high. So need to generate enough income to run your show. You must meet your expenses by generating enough profits in the first 6 months of operation. If you want it to take it off as soon as you start. So therefore, it's better you analyze the private practice market before you can think of starting it. So initially, the first year, you might not be able to generate enough income unless you have a very good marketing plan. Probably next speaker is going to expand on that. The second financial year, you look to at least double your income, so that's the minimum income required to break even. And the third fiscal year probably will be, we will have a profitable venture. Next slide, please. Next. So business plan will have this financial projection. In the business plan, we'll have income and expenditure projection, including the initial cost of investment. Here, if you look at tally, the income here is 5 lakh 14,000. The expenditures 4 lakh 14,000. The profit is about 1 lakh. So if you could have this kind of excess income over expenditure in the first 6 months or 1 year, probably you will be able to break even. Next slide, please. Talking about return on investment, it's calculated like profit divided by capital investment. Here, the profit is 1 lakh, capital investment, the initial investment required to start the clinic is 5 lakhs. The profit turns out to be 20%. And many would be wondering, how much should I get it in the first 6 months or 1 year? The income should be, or the profit should be at least no more than the interest that you would get if you were to invest the same money, put it in the fixed deposit. The current interest rate is about 5%. So we are earning here 20%, and it should be more than the current inflation rate. Right now, I think it's around 7% or so. So 20% is quite a decent profit here. Next slide, please. Well, among the policies, you should have professional, you should consider professional guidelines, clinical protocols, and in addition to that, I suggest we should have common rates for procedures and services across the city, across the town, so that we give a good reflection about understanding among ourselves so that we can fight the non-professionals who might charge no differently but different procedures. For example, for ABR, we can have an understanding among ourselves in the city to have a common rate. Next slide, please. Well, I think somewhere we have skipped one slide about feasibility study. I'm not sure whether we skipped it. Rather, the rules of the game. The rules of the private practice are feasibility study, business plan, the mentors. I think we have dealt about it. Here, the 5 mistakes one should avoid in private practice is to give a memorable experience to the patient. That's the best of the care that is possible. And then if you are focusing exclusively on business results, that is the profit. If you are focused always to earn more and more without looking into the patient's affordability and ethical issues, probably that's not a good idea. Failure to identify the strengths and weaknesses of your business, that is the SWOT analysis of yourselves and the society, that's not a good idea. And lack of consistent follow-up to monitor the progress. You should monitor every 3 months, 6 months, whether you are earning enough, making enough profit to run the show. Next slide, please. Well, I would like to conclude here with a simple story. An MBA guy attends an interview for a consultant job for the clinic. The audiologist, he says, I need someone who can grow the business and to do my worrying for me. The consultant said, I worry a lot about a lot of things, but I don't have to worry about money. That's what the audiologist says. Your job will be to take all the money worries off my back. I see, says the consultant. And how much does the job pay? The audiologist says, I'll start you at 90,000. 90,000, the consultant exclaimed. How can such a small setup afford some like that? That the owner said, that is your first worry. So the point here is, if you're not sure, if you're getting into area that you're not familiar with, better consult expert. And otherwise, 20 years from now, you will be more disappointed by the things that you did not do than the things that you did do. So friends, explore, dream, and discover. I would like to end with this quote. If you think you can, you can. If you think you cannot, you are right. Quote Mark Twain. Thank you and best luck. Best of luck.
Thank you so much, sir. This was an amazing, very nicely put out information. Like, these are the things that us as audiologists find it very difficult to comprehend sometimes or plan. And you've put it out in such nice illustrations, such nice examples. So thank you so much, sir. Moving on to our next part, that is on expansion. And we have none other than Dr. Krithika Iyengar with us to talk about it. We all know Dr. Krithika and Chandan sir as the couple who, at least for the Eastern zone, they were the pioneers who started their private practice way back, especially started the cochlear implant program over there in the Eastern region. And after 13 plus years of experience as a private practitioner, they recently have they had already done their masters in speech and hearing from Aish. They have been practicing for 13 plus years, and then recently they decided to get their clinical doctorate from Salaj University in USA. They were amongst the first people to get that, and that itself shows how they are aspiring to expand their horizons in their practice. And so she's also the director and consultant at Decibel Hearing Clinic. I welcome you, ma'am, to give us the insights on how we can expand our practice, different ways to think about it.
Am I audible, Pragya?
Yeah, ma'am. Yes.
Yeah, okay. Good afternoon to everybody. Thanks to Isha SIG for this platform wherein we private practitioners can put forth our point of view and discuss the issues that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. Hello. Like Nayak sir was saying that if you do not know about anything, it is better to consult. Similarly, listening to all the speakers before me, students who are here or those who are listening would think that setting up a private practice is a tension. There are too many things involved, so it is better not to get into private practice. But like Nayak sir pointed out, it does take a lot of effort. It does take a lot of knowledge other than just the knowledge that you have gained, your professional knowledge. So it requires knowledge about administration. It requires knowledge about, finances, projections. Setting up a private practice is not just about you going and doing your work and coming back, but it also is about you knowing what to do, how to do, so that, you're basically into this profession so that you can earn a living. Apart from earning a living, you also want to set some standards of service provision as well. So in order to provide good services, in order to provide services for many people, we have to have knowledge. Apart from our clinical knowledge, our theory knowledge, we have to have knowledge about how things run, how does the market behave, what should we do so that we can do better and provide better services, provide services to more people. So once you have established one clinic in a place, and you find that the clinic is doing well, you're offering good services, you have a good number of patients who visit you on a daily basis, then you, after some years, say a couple of years or 3 or 4 years, what happens is there is a point where you reach a place where you think that this is not enough, you need to do a little more. So the thing is that whenever you're thinking about expanding, in the sense that what to do next, should I have another clinic in other place or should I think of something else, that is where we have to keep a few things in mind. Because expansion does not always mean that you have multiple clinics. Expansion, next slide please. Expansion could also mean that you have expansion of services. Like for example, you may have started a basic audiological clinic giving basic audiological services, but then later on you realize that you're not able to service people who come in with needs other than what you're able to help them with. So that is when you would think of expanding your services. And service expansion would also mean that you have to know what you want to expand, which service you want to introduce, and you also have to have a knowledge of that service. And the problem is that since we all specialize, in fact nowadays, after masters, in the masters itself, we specialize either in speech or we specialize either in audio. Even in speech there are furthermore specialization. In audiology also there are furthermore specializations. So as a professional, you may want to expand or introduce other services that you're not very familiar with. But then in such a case, what we have to do is we have to have associates, some other professionals, co-professionals who are working in those fields. So service expansion does not always mean including having more number of clinics. It could mean having associate clinics. Like this model has worked quite well in our case. We have service associates, we have associate clinicians who work with us, who are independent clinics on their own, but we associate with them because it is like outsourcing our needs for those services to their clinic. We have a clinic which deals exclusively with children who has autism spectrum disorders, ADHD. We have clinic who works exclusively with children for therapy in the sense for auditory based therapy. So we also have associate clinic wherein only swallowing is done. We have an associate clinic wherein only vestibular assessment and rehabilitation is done. So what happens with associate clinics is that you also have people who have interests in some other field. So you can tap in on their interest. You can help them grow along with you. So what happens is the patients that you're not able to provide service can be referred to those clinics who exclusively deal with those things. So you do not have to, get into the thick of all these things because you can only do one. And when you get into too many things, then you're not able to give proper service. So if you have this model can also work, wherein you get associated with professionals giving specialization services in different fields of audiology and speech language pathology. That is one. And second one is by professional networking. And by this professional networking, I mean is apart from our profession, we could have a professional networking with ENT physicians. We could have networking with neurologists, with pediatricians, with occupational therapists, with physiotherapists, wherein we have a common clinic where we consult, and then based on whatever the problem is for the patient, we work together and help the patient. So this is where you have professional networking. So this is if you want to expand services. And the second thing that I was talking about is when you want to expand the same services to different places. Say, for example, in the city, you want to have multiple clinics, or in the state, you want to have multiple clinics so that you can have more number of people that you're servicing. So service expansion has either, the expansion of a clinic could be either in terms of expanding services, introducing more number of services, or it could be just having the same services in multiple clinics. Yeah, next one. So like I was saying, the associate clinics, if you get into this concept of associate clinics, then associate clinic, like I was saying, helps us provide varied services. Your clinic may not, but your associate clinic may provide that service. It brings in together like-minded professionals in the sense that who have the same basis of work, and they look forward to the same thing of doing work in a certain way, of going ahead in a certain way, of providing services to patients in a certain way. So like-minded professionals getting together. It could be audiologists, like I was saying, for vestibular testing, rehabilitation, or it could be a clinic which deals only with cochlear implantation, everything A to Z of cochlear implantation. For the therapists, for the speech therapists, it could be a swallowing clinic, it could be a voice clinic, it could be a clinic which deals exclusively with autism spectrum disorders, or we have clinics which deal exclusively with cleft lip and palate. So associate clinics means that you do not have to specialize, or you do not have to do everything. You find somebody who can help you do these things so that each one of us can play on our strengths. And professional networking is what I was saying. So it is a combined practice. It is a combined practice that you do with ENT for cochlear implants and for voice, because unless you have a regular rapport with your ENT, unless you go with them, discuss cases, this combined practice thing will not develop. And by doing so, what you're also doing is you're getting the ENT to know what are the things that you do other than just say cochlear implants or voice, or with a neurologist just swallowing or language disorders. They will also get to know what are the other things that you do, so that you can get referral for your clinic as well. So this is, I would say, a very soft way of marketing services, which actually goes a long way, because you're actually sharing your expertise with their expertise, so that a combined practice grows. pediatricians also, they are not very aware of neonatal hearing screening programs. They don't understand all this. So if you can create awareness among pediatricians for neonatal hearing screening, the referral for your clinic increases, the number of cases that can be identified earlier increases. So we have a better chance at giving them a good life quite early in life. And definitely fellow professionals within ourselves, within the profession of audiology and speech pathology, if I know that I am not able to provide this service, a certain service, but I know my fellow professional is able to provide service, good service, then it becomes my responsibility to make sure that my patient gets good service, if not from me, from my fellow colleague, or from my fellow professional. So combined practice is the way all of us, all professions can grow together. Next slide, please. The advantages of these associate clinic and networking is, like I said, it encourages combined practice. It also improves quality of work because, like I said, I'm not burdened with doing everything. Like initially, like Pragya was saying, back in 2000, 2001, when we came to Calcutta, there were very few clinics, firstly, that were offering audiological services. And there were even fewer clinics that were offering speech and language services. So, you know, when you start a clinic saying that you're an audiology and speech therapy clinic, you get all kinds of referral. So when you get all kinds of referral, you have to serve them. But then over a period of time, we realize that it is not possible for us to keep doing everything. Because if you do speech, you cannot do audio. If you do audio, you cannot do speech, because both require a lot of commitment, lot of time, and both work in different ways. So that is when we decided that we will not do everything. We'll have ways by which we can do everything, but not by ourselves. So that is how we came up with this concept of having associate clinics. It also, like I said, gives improved and varied patient facilities and service. The patient pool is retained because you are sending it to somebody you know. So firstly, you are sure about the service, and the patient does not, get lost to follow up, which many a times happen. I don't do this. I'm not sure who does it. So the patient firstly does not get a solution to his problem and then gets lost. There's reduced financial commitment here because as a clinic, you have invested in your clinic, you have the other person has invested in that particular clinic. So what happens is you're not investing for all facilities at one place. So this means that you're sharing resources, and what happens is that the overall financial burden of having a comprehensive speech and hearing clinic does not come upon you. And another thing is that retention of team members is better because everybody is working independently. So we are not impinging on each other's boundaries. So the boundaries are clear. So having more number of people, and it becomes easier to retain them. Next one, please. And yeah, members are accountable because everybody is doing their work, so they have to be accountable for their work. However, the disadvantages are because you're sending it to somebody else. It is not you who are doing the work. So when you do the work, you know how you do it. But when you're sending it to somebody else, you're sure that they're doing a good work, but you often do not have a lot of control on them, how they work. You may have a difference of opinion, but then finally it is those that are doing the work. So many a times it happens that you can really not do anything about. So you have less control. You have loss in revenue, in the sense, if you had the same services under your clinic, then you would have had more revenue. You have, like I was saying, many a times patients are lost to follow up, and many a times these associate clinics then disintegrate because over a period of time principles change, people change, so then you get lost. Next slide, please. The other thing is having multiple chain or branches. So this is possible only when your clinic has established a certain brand value in the market. So everybody knows the name of your clinic. So once this has been, it's like Tata. So wherever you go, there is Tata, or say like, for example, any other company. So establishing of a brand is important, because unless you establish a brand, you cannot think of having another clinic at a different place in the city itself or in another city itself, right? So the advantage of having clinic chain or branches is that it provides access across city or state or country, depending on how you're trying to expand. Standardized business methods and practices, because it is the same chain, so you'll have the same procedures that are followed at different clinics regarding service delivery, regarding appointment scheduling, regarding hearing aid servicing, hearing aid sale, price, everything. And because it is a clinic chain, so the management is the same, so it will have the same brand and hence management. Next slide, please. But there are many things that you have to consider. One of the thing is that will it work? Because there are many instances wherein a clinic is doing exceptionally well in a certain place, but a branch that has been established somewhere else in the city or some other state, it doesn't do well. So unless you actually do it, you don't know it. But then I would say that it is not guaranteed that since you're doing very well, you may be a brand in a certain place. But if you're doing very well in a certain place, it doesn't assure you that you will do equally well in another place. So that is something that we have to consider when we think of expanding in terms of chain. Location, where would you do it? Would you do it in the city itself, another place in the city, or would you do it another district or in another state? Then you have to think of people, both clinical as well as non-clinical, because like I was saying, because ours is a service-based, I would say, industry, because we provide services. What happens is that services are very individualistic. So the service that I provide would be very different from the service that my fellow colleague would provide. So clinical services as well as non-clinical services may not be, the brand may be the same, but the services may not be the same all the places. So that is something that we have to keep in mind. Time, in the sense that if I do not hire somebody in the clinic, then I have to share my time to the other clinic as well. So time management, all that also has to be considered. Process management and metrics, in the sense, Nayak sir was saying, how do we, budget for a clinic? Then how do we estimate what are the expenses? How do we project what is the income, likely income, and how much of profit are we going to make? So all this needs to be done, not for one clinic now, you have to do it for multiple clinics. Marketing will be very different. Earlier it was one, then if you have multiple clinics, then marketing is going to be very different. Whether you're going to do it doctor marketing, that most of us are very familiar with, or we are thinking of digital marketing, or both. And definitely training and monitoring system is very important, because you cannot be at the same time in different clinics. So you have to have a way by which you can train your professionals as well as monitor them, both clinical and non-clinical. Okay. The advantages, however, of having multiple clinic is that there is central ownership. There's only one control. There is quite a bit of uniformity in services that are available. All right. The standard, there is uniformity in reporting. There is uniformity in service delivery. Uniformity in buying and selling policy, in the sense of hearing aids, of accessories, and anything related to the hearing instruments. And you know what happens when a patient patient has got a hearing aid or anything from a clinic here in Kolkata, goes to a clinic, say in Chennai, say your chain in Chennai, and when he gets to see the same brand, same decor, same type of behavior, same patient treatment, then it also gives them some amount of satisfaction that, yeah, they have actually invested their money or got something from a place which is good. Next, please. However, disadvantages could be in the way of management, because you have to have somebody who can manage. It cannot be only you, because you either get to do this job or you either have to do clinical job. You cannot do both equally, and it is very very challenging actually. So you have to have somebody who can take care of this. And when somebody does this, we all know that, you know, when we do a certain job, is not somebody else does the same job, it may not be the same. So management becomes a headache. Local administrative requirement in different places are different. So unless we have in-depth knowledge of what are the permissions required, you know, what are the registrations that are required, all those things, they are different from place to place. So you have to have in-depth knowledge. Finance, though, is not a problem nowadays, but yes, when you're thinking of multiple clinics, finance is something that you have to worry about, because loan or whatever, you know, investment, there is a return thing that you have to keep in mind. Inventory management and minimum stocking. So multiple clinics means you have to have a huge inventory, and you have to have some amount of minimum stocking that you have to do, which is way more than what an individual clinic would have. Professional and manpower management. Even in a single clinic, it is a problem. So a multiple clinic would have more problems. But then there are ways through which all this can be managed. All right. And trained professionals, retaining trained professionals is a very big thing, because any clinic would definitely have their professionals trained from time to time. But then having them in that clinic for a very long time is really a challenge nowadays. Next slide, please. So when we're thinking of expansion, it doesn't need to only be multiple clinics. Think of associate clinics, think of combined practice, and definitely the concept of having branches and clinics is always there. So expansion could be in these two ways. And marketing nowadays, I think there's nothing better than this to, you know, bring forth or highlight the way the services are given in your clinic, what is being done in your clinic, what you're not doing in your clinic. And like I was saying, since ours is a service-based industry, our marketing is also service-based. We actually do not market the products that we deal with. We do not market about the hearing aids that we deal with, but we definitely market about the products that services that we deliver, testings that we do. So marketing is definitely required in private practice, because it increases brand, and definitely it increases sale, and it also leads to new customers. It can be B2C marketing or B2B. B2C is your business to consumer directly marketing, like you have, you know, in advertisements where the newspapers have the advertisements and the customers or consumers are directly exposed to them. Or it can be business to business marketing, where you have outsourced your business to some place like that. And the main aim of marketing is actually to build relationship and trust, because unless this is done, our whatever we do is not going to help. Next slide, please. There are many ways by which we can think of marketing. Social media is one such thing, because it is one of the most important ways by which we can showcase what we are doing. So it helps us engage new and present patients. It generates positive feedback with online review, in the sense we can ask patients to generate positive feedback. It helps us follow up on patients with email or telemarketing. We have come across all this. I mean, may not be related to our services, but then we get innumerable calls from insurance places, you know, phones, loans, all these things. So these are all ways by which you can market. We should have a website wherein we can have all our services displayed. We should be able to engage in community by taking, you know, by liaising with the local clubs, or by having health checkup camps, small things like this, so that will boost the local presence. Ent referrals is definitely a way by which we can have more footfall. Personalized services, like for example, if you are a center which offers exclusive services, then those things have to be marketed. And the best thing that I would say works is word of mouth. So if you have a satisfied patient who has had excellent services from you, I'm sure that patient is going to be a big referrer for our clinic. Next one, please. However, There are some points that we definitely should consider during marketing. That is by incentivizing potential customers. We should have referral programs so that we have our present customers, referring us more and more patients. We can have customer testimonials wherein our services are talked about. We can also showcase our awards and achievements, what we have done, what we have achieved otherwise, and overall highlight the professionals and people in our team, because many a times those are the people who provide services. So from time to time, if we can highlight the professionals in our team, that will also go a long way in telling the patients that how this clinic works. So it is a person clinic type service. So unless we do all this, unless we have a little knowledge on all this, it is very difficult to actually, increase your services or increase the way by which you want to reach out to more number of people. So apart from audiological skills, speech therapy skills, we also need to have these skills, knowledge of these skills, or at least we need to know where we can reach out to, whom we can reach out to, who can help us achieve all this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Again,
Hello.
thank you so much, ma'am. One of the very challenging.
Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am, you're audible. Thank you for summarizing this very challenging topic in a very nice way, in a very crisp and, very strategic way. I'm sure it is going to inspire a lot of us to, give us a lot of idea how to expand and how to market our, practice. Next, and finally, we have a very scintillating topic, ethical practice. Again, most of what we do
Actually,
is
this marketing and expansion and all this is not something that I do on a regular basis. I'm more into infrastructure and report writing, and to a certain extent inventory management. But then when Pragya said that can you talk on this, so I thought that this would probably be the first step for me to get to know something that I'm not very used to. So like I said in the beginning of my presentation, just having clinical knowledge is not going to help if you're thinking of starting a private clinic. Have a knowledge of everything so that you're not, suddenly somebody tells you something and you're not wondering what is he or she talking about when it comes to marketing, or when it comes to admin, or when it comes to finances.
true, ma'am. And I hope today's talk or the overall talks today
I'm done
are
here.
going to guide us along.
I'm really very eager to hear what Salaj sir is going to say, because
We are
that is
all
something
very
that is
eager.
the thing that is going around everywhere now and needs to be sorted.
Thank you so much, ma'am. We are all very eager. Ethical practice is something that is what keeps us, in the field. That is what is going to help us or guide us in the long run. And who better to talk about ethical practice other than Mr. Salaj Bhatnagar. We all know him. He's an audiologist. He's done his MASLP. He's the director of Noble Hearing Clinic. He's the executive director of My Ear AVT Center in Indore. He's also the advisor for My Speech and Hearing Clinic in Bhopal. He's also a consultant audiologist in Chaitram Hospital at Indore. And one of his innovations, very exciting recent innovation, is the audio lab on wheels. So again, Salaj sir has been the torch bearer, we can say, in our field when it comes to ethical practice, when it comes to, fighting for the rights and recognition of the speech and hearing professionals. So we are very excited to hear what sir has to talk to us. Welcome, sir. It is a privilege to have you here today.
Vande Mataram, and very good afternoon to everybody. First of all, I would like to thank everyone for being with us today. And I thank Isha for giving me this opportunity to talk. This is the first slide now
Salaj,
speech
I
and
can-
hearing.
Salaj, if you have good bandwidth, we would request your video to be on.
You want my video to be on? Let us
Yeah.
check. Yeah, can you see my video?
Not yet. Just
I
a,
think वहां से disabled है.
just a minute. Yeah, you can now start your video.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, you are there.
Okay. So once again, hello, with my face on to everybody. Now this is my first slide. This show it says that speech and hearing profession is #1. Don't you think this looks like something like a slogan of a political party, or self-praising with one chashma as my logo of party? Yeah, it looks like. But this is something. If you see behind this slide, there is a huge volcano which is erupting and causing a lot of destruction to our profession. Friends, yes, our profession is #1, but the turmoil is, this is #1 because we are the only professionals where more than 56% unethical practices are being done by non-professionals. You will be shocked. Everybody knows this, but when it comes to statistics, when it comes to kind of analyzing things, it is medical professionals, it is medical hall wala, it is radio shop wala, it is chashme wala, online sales, ex-company employees starting their chains, DHLS, and with due respect, ENTs. If you see the statistics and you analyze the statistics, you will realize that 56% of business is being done by these unqualified people who are not at all qualified to handle audiology are handling it. In turn, there are only 44% of qualified people who are doing the due audiological work. And amongst that, 32% of them are youngsters. So we are #1 because we are the professionals who are allowing non-professional to take away what should have been with us. Next slide. Okay, now this is another interesting thing. Ethics, a dream not coming true. The basic reason what I said, a profession which has been governed and run and taken care by 56 non-professional or unethical people, how do you expect it to happen that the ethics will come in our field? Two important things which says in this slide is we as professionals also look at our profession with one chashma, with one eye, and that eye is yours own, because we don't understand what are standards, we don't understand what is ethics, we don't understand why should we have standard guidelines. It's like we have a protective umbrella on our head, but that umbrella is too small and too high for us to give protection. How do you feel when you are on road with a huge umbrella there, but it is around 20-25 feet away from you and you're getting wet? The dream is not coming true because we are not well protected and we see everything with one eye, and every eye is different. Can we go for next? Okay, now, as the first slide I was discussing that very poor professional ratio. So you need to have only writing letters or evidently giving kind of जिसको कहते हैं आप complaints and on a bit and pieces. I don't think so. This is going to definitely work to really filter out the non-professionals entering into our field. You need to have a huge filtering system or a system which cleans our profession. Only then I think we will be able to sustain and retain the dignity of our profession. Stopping external people is much easier, I believe, but the fight is much bigger, you know. Reason being, I take our profession having challenges. Number one is external versus internal. Yani ki people who are non-qualified versus people who are qualified. It's simple. Non-qualified can be handled very easily, but there has to be certain standards and certain things, guidelines to be made, which is not there in our country. The difficult part is internal versus internal. Keep your hands on your heart and tell me how many of us practice true audiology in a professional way. Are we not driven with the marketing strategies, the discounting strategies, the faulty dispensation theories? That is the part which is bothering us. You being a qualified, you behave like an unqualified. Of the 44% of population which is qualified and working in the field, it's only 17% are doing quality work. Why so? Why are we not able to really stand out or prove yourself? How many of you have seen a printed report, a complete report of progress, aided audiograms, hearing aid trial reports, speech discrimination reports with audiogram and aided audiograms? How many times have you seen that the patient is being given the entire report with a print? We behave the way the non-professionals behave, and we blame others. The biggest culprit is hearing aid industry. Friends, if you really look into the whole issue of malpractice in audiology or hearing aid industry, the main culprit is hearing aid industry people. And in any conference, any talk, nobody talks about hearing aid industry. It's always dukan wala, chashma wala, dawai wala, DHLS, teacher of the deaf doing hearing aid. We always cut the leaves. Now the time has come, we need to really uproot the unethical people from their root. The culprit is industry, and industry is running or making us run because they are the people who are distributing hearing aids to each and everybody who is approaching them. Exposure of huge discounts is attracting more non-professional people into the field. Typhoons who have money are investing in our field and pulling out the money from our industry to non-qualified people. I very strongly feel that you should stop audiology in our country if the thing is not being addressed. There are many, but time restraints. Now, the important is this all is happening because we don't have any standard guidelines or regulatory body which can really question or put a guideline or put a regulatory system where you have the power of questioning and putting them back legally. And that's the need. All the speakers which spoke before me everything goes waste, because ultimately your efforts as a professionals is not to the mark, because the non-professionals are entering into your field, doing the whole business only on discounts, with zero professionalism, with zero ethics, and we get frustrated. Can we go for the next slide, please? So now the question is, I can't change the world, but we can. What I am doing my bit for having oxygen for myself to sustain for another 15 years or 10 years, whatever my health permits, what I am doing at my clinic. Sabse pehle, first of all, I have made my clinic completely software driven. The time the patient enters, he is onto our system, and the system is taking care of entire portfolio of the patient, whether he comes as an OPD, he goes out as an OPD, he comes as an OPD, he goes for hearing aids, he goes for cochlear implant, he goes for speech therapy, he goes for the rehabilitation procedure. Everything is software driven, everything is documented, and the patient is so happy because second, third visit, he's been acknowledged right at my reception. The other thing which I do at my clinic is, at my level, I have written many articles on ethical practice, right and wrong. I've also projected buy 2 hearing aids and get 1 bungalow to make people understand and read between the lines. Every patient coming into my clinic, I give them a set of literature depending upon for what they have come. If it's a hearing aid, yes, it is about why hearing aid, which hearing aid, who is an audiologist, what you should see when you enter a clinic, kind of things I do give every patient coming into us. There is no product poster in my center. It's all about medical conditions which can happen, or associated conditions with the hearing loss. We have 100% connectivity with our patients. We have a pool of senior citizens where 75 plus. We give them home delivery services. We send bouquet and cake. And those patients who are 85 plus, we look into it that 1 or 2 of our team members go to their house with a small cake as a celebration. And that makes a lot of sense for them and to us. A lot of value additions where reminders from my clinic automatically goes to the patient that it's due, come for servicing. Your hearing aid is getting out of warranty. Please come back to us. These kind of services. Yeah, we also have online battery sale. We also have pickup services for senior citizens who cannot come for repairs. We have a boy who goes there, collects the hearing aid. We talk to them on phone, on mobile, and take entire thing into consideration. And most importantly, my entire documentation is through a software and a printout. I try to maintain all the standard documentation which is required for an audiological reporting system. I use virtual hearing aid trials, hearing aid prescription, where everything is being documented and given to the patient. I think if we do this, more of us do this, the non-ethical practitioners will have to think for a different business. Can we go for the next slide, please? So there's a lot to be done, in a very bigger way. And I was just looking into the attendance today. That shows the interest of our private practitioners attending to one of the most hot topic, ethics, interference. And that is why all my slides have this one eye spectacle. We see our profession because of the way we want to see it with one spectacle. And that's why After 53 years of existence, still we are talking about ethics, we are talking about standards, we are talking about growth. Don't you think this is sad? Can we go to the next slide, please? The important thing is, I think, if you want to have a good agricultural quantum, then you have to have a good field. We in colleges teach ethics, but never ever been taught as to how to fight against non-ethical practices. And that is a very, very awaited change which is required to be done from institutional level. The wall of China has to be really put down between professionals working in institute versus professionals working in private practice. I know it's a very sensitive issue, but yes, it has to be addressed and it has to be really digged out, because children coming from institutions fly very high and then they don't achieve the join hands with non-ethical people. Sad, but it is true. Next slide, please. So my conclusion would be, let's have a gun where we can fight people who are not doing correct. I'm not saying that in literal sense gun, but you have to have some power. You have to have some legal regulatory bodies, guidelines, and kind of I would say punishment policy. You being an audiologist, I've seen many clinics where a good audiological clinic having a very local audiometers or no impedance, or there is no sound treated room, and still audiology is being done by a qualified. If a patient is into the market, definitely he is going to see that there is no difference between a qualified man and a man who is sitting in a very big clinic with equipment not there, no sound treated room, and that is what is the issue. I very strongly feel that every child coming into our field, into a professional, should have a gun of ethics, gun to fire, or have a place where they can understand how to take help and how to stop unethical practice. I recommend that our course should be 5+2+2. 4 already we are there, and the 5th year should be only working on marketing, only working on strategy building, only working on starting up clinics, and only then I think we can really have something which is going to be cleaning our system. Next. So I thank you all for being with me. I might be a little blunt and harsh, but that's the truth. I request with my folded hands to everybody that let us practice what we preach, and let the single chashma go down, and let's start seeing our profession with both the chashmas, with open your eyes, with the brain accepting changes, getting a law, and protect ourselves. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. I mean, we all know about the unethical practices and everything, but the figures that you put up, that was really an eye-opener. And some of the very valid points, some of the things that we always feel, that it's not just the external versus internal, it's also the within the profession, within the us professionals itself, how we are conducting ourselves, how we are practicing, that is also something that is, at least aiding to the whole unethical practices. Thank you so much. I thank all of the speakers. I now welcome Neelu Somani ma'am to please moderate through the question and answer round. We have a few questions.
Yeah, thank you, Pragna. If we can, Shweta, if you can just highlight the today's speakers, and if we can have the videos of today's speakers on, we can have the videos of our speakers today. Yeah, thank you, Krithika. So Abhijith, Nayaka sir, Krithika and Salaj. Well, after Salaj's presentation, I was kind of in this silence mode, like, for a couple of minutes, and making me sink into, like, that ek aankh ke upar chashma. Salaj, that was really very symbolic of what you wanted to convey. Yeah.
I guess, I'm sorry. Yeah, please continue.
No, Krithika, you can express.
No, I was just about to say that there's a saying in Hindi, खुद ही को कर बुलंद इतना कि खुदा तुझसे पूछे बता तेरी रजा क्या है types. So unless we ourselves do not create a niche for ourselves, so that when the other professionals look at me versus somebody who's not qualified and does not see a difference between the way we work, it is not going to happen. So we
No.
have to take our level of practice to another level where those unqualified professionals cannot reach.
Ma'am, with due respect, I would like to add into this. At the level at which you, me, and everybody, most of us are today listening to, are at a level where we can sustain and fight. I am not for what we are. I am for those children who are just 1 year, 2 years, and 3 years down, just passed out from the colleges. For them, it is very difficult because the number is overshooting your qualified people. Just imagine, ma'am, 55-56% of people who are not qualified are driving your profession. It's so. This is height of I would say tolerance. People say that Indians are tolerant, very tolerant, and we are tolerant, but now we are getting kind of meshed under the pressure of non-professionals, and our juniors who are coming into the field are getting into the wrong practices just because of this.
No, that is what I said, sir, that I completely agree with what you have to say. So
Yeah.
unless we as senior practicing professionals do not insist or do not highlight on the need for having a good service provision, or like you said,
Ma'am, again,
doing everything ethically.
I would like to again put you on a pause. The question asked by many of them are, who are you to stop? Who are you to tell me? We don't have any governing system, ma'am. You need to have a system. You need to have a guidelines. We Indians are slaves till date, and we want to be rule governed. Unless and until you stop the proliferation of non-professionals, we are not going to have quality people.
Absolutely. Like I was saying the other day also, we should have a common practice protocol,
Yes,
a set clinical protocol, which if we all follow, will easily make sure that these non-professionals do not enter our arena.
Right. So let's start working on the guidelines or maybe protocols.
The guidelines would also empower, as he said, internal versus internal, like even within our profession, how many of us are following the best practices is that what is important. But definitely, I'm sure if there are guidelines, either younger crowd, the generation are graduating out of our institutions, academic institutions, alma maters, with the guideline to do it, or the time for that. I have a question for Abhijit. Abhijit, there was a question like, what would be an approximate budget to set up a clinic, which is providing audiology as well as speech therapy?
Actually, setting up a clinic really depends on the real estate cost of that area and the extent of the scope of your practice, everything. But in a minimum level, it will be around 5 lakh, like 1 lakh for the audiometer and another 2 lakh for the tympanometer, soundproofing for 1.5 lakh, and the real estate cost. Everything will cost around, altogether it will be around 5 to 6 lakh. And depending upon how much you do the interior designing or how decorative you make your clinic, how good you, how attractive you make it. It can depend on the the budget can be depend, but minimum in a minimum requirement will be around 5 to 6 lakh.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, thank you,
Yeah,
Abhijit.
and as Salaj sir was saying, there should be some monitoring authority. In the previous discussion, he was saying like that. And what I would add is in Kerala, I have shown that government gazette in Kerala, the Kerala Social Security Mission is going to be the governing authority for all the clinics. Like as I have told in the presentation, the Social Security Mission will be governing the clinics once the registration is complete within this coming year. So if possible, we can represent to the government of India to have that kind of body to be set up all around India to monitor the clinics, not only the speech and hearing, but the other allied medical professions also.
So,
We
sir,
have
what I have
something.
done,
Okay.
can I continue? So
Please do.
on the same lines, I have already made guidelines where everything has been put down as to what should be a speech and hearing clinic, who should run a speech and hearing clinic, what are the different standards to be maintained by a speech and hearing clinic person, and I have rated the speech and hearing clinics 1 to 5. So it could be just a screening center to a highly advanced center. I have presented it to the collector, to the health CMHO officer here. I am expected to have a kind of a meeting and a presentation to the health minister and the director of health. So if everything goes good, and if 2-3 states can put this into their states, then definitely there can be a good pressure from all of us to get it done throughout country.
We in West Bengal also have something called the Clinical Establishment Act, wherein there are some norms, some guidelines that have been put down for establishing a clinic, be it a polyclinic or an individual standalone clinic or a hospital. But then these guidelines are also not very clear, in the sense that I may not be an audiologist. I may be just an investor who's opening a clinic. So it becomes very difficult for me to know what will a DHLS do, or what will an audiologist do. Things
I have
like
taken
that.
care of this. I have taken care of this.
Yeah.
Investors see, in India, nobody can stop doing business. You can
Right.
do business, but there are guidelines, there are policies which need to be laid down as to how would be the professional services handled by that non-professional, and what kind of non-interference attitude or non-interference policy should be made for that gentleman not to interfere in your clinical services. So even that I have tried to, I would like to share that with you all so that I can get better inputs in case I'm missing something.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Abhijit, Krithika, for this insight. Krithika, this is a question which is for you. It says, is associate clinic the same as referring a client to another professional?
Not all the time. Actually, what I was meaning about through the associate clinic concept is that two clinicians who have different interests, they get together. There may be a monetary partnership, or they may not be monetary partnership, but on principle, both of them are working together. So say for example, that clinician has hearing patients referred to me, I have speech patients referred to that clinician. So it's only between the two of us, and it is only to that clinic. There might be another professional who's working on say some other aspect of speech, or maybe the same aspect of speech. I do not, because he is not my associate, I don't refer to that person. I refer only to this person, because there is a joint interest in the clinic. It could be financial as well as service wise. So I would say that is the associate clinic.
Okay. Thank you, Krithika. Also, I have this particular question to you, is that in your presentation, you did mention loss of revenue. So how do you look at loss of revenue when, you are ambitious, like you want to have expansion, but then again, you have a loss of revenue at one end? So isn't it like a paradox?
No, it is a paradox that I said, is that, see, when you're trying to have these services in-house, definitely there is investment as well as you are expecting revenue. But then when you're outsourcing, associate clinics are very similar to outsourcing your services to somebody else. So when you're outsourcing, obviously your revenues that you would have otherwise had if it was an in-clinic service, compared to that, when you're outsourcing, your revenues come down. So that way, the patient, the complete control on the patient is also not yours because you're outsourcing the patient to another clinic, say. And the revenue is also not as much as if it was in your clinic because you're sharing it with the other person.
Got that. Okay.
That way, loss of revenue.
Yes. Javara sir, are you there? Nayaka sir?
Yes, sir, I'm.
Yes, yes. So that was really very that was really your presentation showed like the amount of experience you have from an administrative point of view. My question to you is like how frequently should you keep evaluating your balance sheet and like come down from say a multiple clinic to come down to like just like you say undersize your operations.
Well, I think we should recommend evaluation once in 3 months, if not at least once in 6 months. And anyway, we are filing annual returns, so you would know your balance sheet, profit and loss, and so on. And to address your second question, can you repeat the second topic, last part?
My second question.
I'm hearing issues with audio.
At what point of time? Hello, am I audible now?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I said at what point in time should a clinician decide, like I have a multiple clinics, but now it is the time for me to consolidate.
If it is a new clinic, 2 to 3 years is the best time to find out whether to close it, improve. And if you are is an expansion, probably you can give little bit time.
Okay, sir. Okay. We have some questions in the chat box. So this is to Salaj from Tariq. And he says, I need to understand virtual hearing trials from Salaj sir and your experience views on cut practice as it's a very common with ENTs. Salaj?
First, the virtual hearing aid trial is a very simple way of making your hearing aid prescription and a trial tangible for the patient and the attenders. I have developed a very small, a very simple system, nothing very big in this. I have put a kind of a 5.1 surround sound system in my hearing aid prescription room and a trial room. I have developed a slideshow where the picture of the sound which is going to come from the audio is delayed by maybe 5 seconds to 7 seconds. The sound is being played, the picture is being displayed. The gap the sound and the picture has, the patient has to give us as to what he or she is hearing. That is, we are getting an SDS of different sounds. The sounds could be animal, environmental, group, or we have also got a provision of sounds of their attenders, that is live. Here, what you're making is you're making a kind of a report where you don't need to talk about channels, you don't need to talk about companies, you don't need to talk about what is good and what is bad, because your system of prescription and trial is so authentic and so tangible for the patients and as well as the attenders. And more than that, we have an environmental kind of a file where we have all the virtual surround sound systems where you have sound of fan, AC, rain, traffic, railway station. We have got a sound level meter where we monitor the level of sounds which is displayed to the patient, and we report that 70 dB XYZ sound, the SDS is this much. My hearing aid trial and prescription takes 2 hours, plus my failure rate is just 7%. Next, cut practice, you cannot cut. That is fact. I don't want to be a bookish guy saying that nahi, unethical hai, ye hai. You cannot change the world, you cannot change the human psychology. Important is if you have to give something, you have to give only once to the practitioner, but if is good, if your working is good, the patient is for you. He brings back direct patients to you. So cut practice, don't worry. Improve your quality, connect with your patients. Patients will bring your patients. Depending on cut practice, you will never grow, but you cannot stop.
Yes, I agree with that. And here I would also like to put forth my point of view is that cut practice or whatever you call commission-based or referral fee practice is prevalent in the medical field in our country. It's a system-driven practice. And yes, if one has to be into it, you got to be into it. One has to really evaluate the geographical location where you are, the kind of area that you're working in. But over a period of time, as you deliver your services, as Salaj rightly said, if that this patient has come only once to you from a referral, but beyond that, he will continue to come to you for your services and get many more referrals from the word of mouth. Coming back to what Krithika had also presented is the word of mouth, and our services is that which will talk, right? Yet I have seen, rather there are, and there would be in every, I would say, practice scenario, whether it is our field or other medical practices, where they do follow very ethical practices and they have survived. But what works for you for youngsters and for currently who are already into their profession, we as seniors who have been into the field, and coming to myself, even to Krithika, even Salaj for that matter, we started way back, say 1990, 95, right? That so yeah, and even so around that time, and we were very dominant, and we didn't see any competition. So we could sail through that. But today it is getting difficult. So kindly, each one of you, again, we are not saying whether it is right or wrong. It's not about right or wrong. It's what works for you best. So please evaluate your individual situations. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Next question again is for Salaj, which says that this says that the discounts that the dealers should get, it should become standardized, and we should have lesser margins on hearing aids. Probably that will help. So Salaj, what do you have to say about that?
No, that is the second step I would say would help. The first stage or the first step should be hearing aids at a particular rate or at a particular kind of a model can be given to Tom, Dick and Harry. Analog hearing aids, semi-digital hearing aids, you don't require your audiological knowledge or audiological skills. Let that go into the market, every place, every panwala, every place. But when it comes to programmable digital hearing aids, higher value hearing aids need to be given only to a graduate in audiology and speech pathology. And there has to be a capping where within our professionals do not false play.
Sir, but the problem is here, there are many clinics which are not owned by audiologists or speech therapists, you know. So the problem becomes that the audiologist is just an employee of the clinic. And then, you know, all these malpractices actually start because the audiologist many a times has to do things that he would otherwise not have done, but under the pressure of, you know, working in the place, not losing the job, things like that, many things like that.
Ma'am,
So,
if you remember, 6 years down the line, there was in your medical hall practice, you give your pharmacy certificate and anybody can start
yeah.
or open a shop. How did that stop? What kind of guidelines they have made? What is the resolution? What is the law they have passed? And what is the kind of penalty they are putting for that kind of practice? Now you have to be there. The qualified person has to be working professionally. Your presence of the investor into the clinic is only for purchases. That kind of guidelines has to be developed. We have to break our heads, put our heads down and formulate those guidelines where, yes, you are a crorepati, you want to invest and bring a huge clinic of audiology, but you cannot dictate terms as to sell this, don't sell that. You cannot see if the point is, if we have a good quality monitoring system, all these can be plugged and they are being plugged with other professionals. Why not us?
Yes. So we are almost like now summing up our today's discussion. And I would like to thank all the designated.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, can I have a question, please? I want to ask a question, and I also want to have all of your opinion.
Sure, go ahead, Shilpi.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon. First of all, good afternoon to each and everybody, and thank you so much for enlightening us with this knowledge. I myself is a fresher, and this is just my third year of my practice. So this is very helpful to me. But ma'am, one thing according to me, which I really feel when I'm there on ground, is that there are many doctors and there are many things. As Salaj said, we need to have a voice to protect ourselves. Otherwise, we won't be able to survive and sustain. So for that part, what I feel is when we talk about professionals, we talk about quality of speech and hearing services. There are many doctors whom I myself have encountered. They start saying, no, in government sectors, it's only DHLS or it's speech and hearing technicians. So if they can practice, then why do you want to have a professional? And why not in this way or that way? So that in that perspective, I feel like along with the private practices, in the government sector also, we need to put a voice and put a note, like we need to have proper nomenclature. It's not technician, it's a proper profession and the professionals who are practicing, because I feel that thing is hampering our private practices in a very bad way, very, very bad way. And second thing is like, there is still lack of awareness among other professionals regarding speech and hearing. That's where the malpractices is emerging. Like there are many non-professionals who are having clinics. In spite of knowing that they are non-professionals, they are not a person belonging to a speech and hearing field, doctors are still referring to them because of the cut practice maybe. That's one of the major things. And when we approach those doctors and we try to convince them, we try to like make an awareness, they say in government sector also, it's only DHLS, it's a technician thing. Then why not? Why can't they be doing? We can train a non-professional and they can have the quality of thing done.
So Shilpi, you come from which state?
Ma'am, I belong to Madhya Pradesh.
Okay, you're from the state of Madhya Pradesh. Okay, fine. So as I understand, Salaj comes from the state of Madhya Pradesh. He's the state president. Salaj, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, he is. He is, ma'am.
Yes. So I guess all your points are valid, and we have answers, or rather we have, I would say, solutions as well to quite a few of them. I would request you please get in touch with Salaj. Just one point for your nomenclature. You can write to the Indian Speech and Hearing Association, the central body, and they have taken up the nomenclature issue with many institutions, hospitals, governmental, non-governmental, private, wherein the nomenclature has been corrected. So many state chapters also have taken cognizance of this, and we are very much in power to do that. So kindly please take it up with your state body, and you will surely get solutions to all what you've just said. Okay?
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Can I
Nilo,
add? Okay. Sir, please go
Sir,
ahead, sir.
please. Nayaka, sir, please.
yeah, the executive committee is seized of nomenclature, finalization. The matter is going to be coming up in the coming weeks. We have already made the nomenclature, common nomenclature, and I think it will be sorted. And the other part, which was mentioning about having guidelines, I welcome as chairperson and executive committee member. We would like to get a recommendation by this group, by the team of SIG, so that we EC can consider and see if we can implement it, if we can initiate implementation process. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Can I have a small comment?
Yes, Salaj, please.
Yeah. So see, the important thing is, if you look at our today's event, number of participant touched was 30. So from 6,000 of them, I think now we are 6,000 to 8,000 people in practicing in India.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm right?
definitely, sir.
Yes. So I think it is going to be below 0.1% or 1% of what we are here in India.
Yes, sir.
So what is the kind of, now this only shows that most of us are into non-ethical practices, and that is why they don't feel the need to get things rectified. 90% of us will get exposed because we are doing what non-ethical people are doing, non-professionals are doing. And that's the reason why our profession is not coming out as a profession. So it is sad, people are not doing the right practices and they want to hide behind non-professionals.
Yeah. Okay. So I think I too am like getting too sensitized, like, by the discussions today. And I wouldn't say like extend my apologies for that matter, because Salaj, you're very right. We are dismayed by the attendance which is here today. And who are the students who have come in over here? I would really like or urge them to talk to your fellow colleagues as to how you benefited from today's program. And I really like the way Shilpi, she is a third-year student, and she's come up with her apprehensions and wished many more students could have joined and taken this forward. So summing up the two expanding horizons that we had, part one definitely as clinical skills, and the part two, which very systematically put together by Pragna, where we talked about infrastructure, where we talk about managing your finances. And once you are set into your practice, and if you are looking at expansions, which was so well highlighted by Krithika, out of the box thinking, not only expanding your own clinics, but expansion of your own clinical services and plus associate expansion. So this is how we can move forward, and we can have inclusive of our profession with other co-professionals. That's how you want to talk about what you can deliver. So there are so many fields. So Shilpi, there you have an answer, like we are doing so much. So I think everybody, every student, if you take a specialty in a speech and hearing, you could go way beyond and make a mark.
Right.
Amongst the other co-professionals, whether they are neurologists, whether they are otologists, whether they are pediatricians, whether there are clinical psychology groups, there is a cerebral palsy group, you name it, and you can just become an associate member. But I guess instead of we just talking, practice what we really preach. That is the statement I take from Salaj's presentation today. And you have our whoever is like here, the students and other private practitioners, our promise over here that we are going to keep striving for this to get better. And we are going to roar loud so that our roar is heard and it is like taken cognizance of. So thank you, everybody, and over to you, Pragna.
मैम अनम्यूट करिए अपने आप को.
You're muted.
Yeah, you are muted.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry about that. So very quickly, I would like to thank, first of all, I would like to thank all our 4 expert speakers, Abhijith sir, Nayaka sir, Krithika ma'am, Salaj sir. Thank you for sharing this insight. This was something that we were all looking forward to. And I really feel that those students who could not join or did not join, they really missed out on something huge. And I would request the students who could join to, convey the information that you could gather today with your friends, with your colleagues, your co-workers. And I thank Neelu ma'am for moderating the question and answer discussion round so nicely, putting your own inputs. I thank Isha SIG coordinator Saurav sir and Amit sir for giving us the platform, for helping us throughout, in the back end, getting everything together. Overall, it has been a wonderful experience throughout the 2 Expanding Horizons series. We could get a very detailed clinical perspective from Dr. Imran Dhamani sir, and now into the administrative perspective as well. So we hope to, keep getting your cooperation, your coordination into our future activities as well. And thank you once again. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you, SIG, for this platform.
Yes, Pragna, if you can just flash that particular slide we had about the resource persons, and I think Krithika made a mention of the phone number. So Vansh is here and he's asking like, do we have a recording? So sorry, Vansh, we don't have a recording, but definitely you can get connected to the resource people and like what they've deliberated on today, and maybe you can get in touch with them one-on-one and get more and more information.
So I think Krithika ma'am's number is
9903 95 9444.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So just flashing the contact details once again for the participants. Kindly take a note of them. And we are very thankful once again for our expert speakers for sharing their personal contact details and for the benefit of the participants today. So you can reach out to them.
Thank you so much. Thank you to the Isha Special Interest Group.
Yes, sir. Thank you, everybody. We can leave the meeting
everyone.
now.
Have
Have a great Sunday ahead.
Have a great Sunday ahead. Bye.
Thank you all. Thank you for
Thank you.
Bye.